So what we're going to do is look at how it's possible to round over objects so that so when you're designing something, it will sort of fit a hand nicer and so on. So as per normal, we've got VP1 and VP2. As you get better and better at these points here, we can start putting them off the page if it helps. So that's another thing. You don't have to have them on the page. You can sort of even position like the end of an eraser as being, that is my vanishing point if you want. Anyway, let's keep it on the page for now. So first off, we're going to start with a fairly straightforward box. Now, I start off with a vertical line, and if you recall, I put my pencil at one end and then to VP2. Here we go. So I'm going to just put the pencil here, and I'm not drawing the line, and what I'm doing is I'm creating a memory in my arm of, I want you to move from there to here. See if I do it again. If I do here to here, and I'm moving across, and it's amazing at how your arm will just move in that action because you've kind of rehearsed it. Okay, so I'm going to do here to here, here to here. There we go. So, who needs a ruler anyway? All right. All right, now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw a vertical line here and another vertical line here. This one goes to VP2 and this one here goes to VP1. Okay. Now, with this box that I'm going to do, I want to round over the outside corners. So, what I'm going to do is I've got to draw a line from here to here. Now, this can be a tiny little corner or it could be a really big corner, depending on how I want to draw it, right? So, if it's a larger corner like this iPhone case, it's going to be really big. If it's this remote control, the corner is rounded, but it's a tiny round over. But it's not sharp on my fingers anymore. So I choose the corner that I want. Now, here's the thing. Imagine that you're drawing with a ruler that you're going to bend. And think that you've got this tiny bendy ruler that you're going to flex into a curve. And think of that, kind of picture that in your mind. Now I'm going to use this on the corner of this page here. If I take the corner and I want it to be flat here and flat here, in my mind, I'm imagining, do you see how this has bent into that shape? Yeah? And if the angle was tighter, imagine the ruler being tight and curved round. So, you'll see why I'm doing this. Let's see if I can go in a bit closer. Okay, so now I'm imagining the ruler is flat here and it's going to be flat here. And now I just have to draw where I think that ruler is going to go. Does that make sense? Now this one here is kind of an more open angle. And so it just sweeps from here to there. This one here is more of a sharper angle, so the corner is going to be a bit more of a problem to draw. But anyway, you get the idea. So there we have three sides, and this one is much like this side, where it's a bit more of a sharper angle, and I've got to kind of build it in that curve. Do you see? So now I've got that shape. Now, this point here, this area here, the object is not there anymore. So now what I have to do is take the lowest point of the curve and take it to VP1 in this situation. So I'm going from here to there, and that's where the line comes out. And this one up here, I'm going to take the highest point and take that back to VP1, and it's going to come across there. Now, this curve here is repeated here. But this curve here, I'm only just going to see a little bit, just like that part of the curve repeated over here. And then again down here, it comes across here. And then I have the last little bit of that curve drawn here. Do you see? So now we've got kind of like a block that does that. Do you see that? Okay, so next I want to do an object with a really extreme one, and so I'm going to draw a line here, take it to VP2. There we go, I've got my block there. I'm going to come that way and here. Now, the last session we looked at doing slopes and cuts. So imagine if I am now cutting this block up. So I just took a simple wedge off this one. Right? Do you see that? So at the top, there is the top of my object. And here is the bottom, the back corner, and the back wall for it. But what I want to do is I want this to be a curve here. So again, I'm going to draw, it's going to shorten the object, but I want the curve to be there. So it comes up and it goes to there. But then here, that lowest point goes to VP1. And then curve it around here, and it comes up there. So there is my object. But do you see now how I kind of worked it in? So I started off with a rectangle. I then sliced the rectangle and then took a curve here. So that is the side view of the object. Do you see? But that's how we're going to use it in this 3D kind of way. All right, now what happens if we have an object that looks like this Mac charger, where I've got curves on this side and on this side? And so every corner of it is all nicely rounded, which is nice and comfortable for my hand if I was to hold this. But how do we draw that? So let's put this object up here. And I'm going to have it floating in the air. And here to here, here to here. Here is my vertical. And I'm going to judge, because I want it to be square, I'm going to draw it about there. And then that goes over to there. And that one goes over to there. Now, similar to this one, I round my edges, my corners here and here, and this back one and this top one. Do you see? And so now all the outside edges are kind of nicely rounded. Now, here's the part that's tricky, is that there is no line here anymore, but it is kind of a crease mark. So we need to kind of show that it comes along here and then it goes around in that corner. So I can put little suggestions, sometimes even 2 lines and little lines, to suggest that there is a corner. Do you see how those suggestion lines are sort of saying, yeah, it's kind of rounded. So if we were to hold this here, do you see we've got suggestion lines, and they could be almost like the light, like reflections of light on it as well. Okay, so the last thing is we're going to have a go at something where we cut inside an object. So I'm going to start off with a box, take this to VP2, VP2, VP1, and VP1. I'm going to make a box shape, VP2, this is vertical, VP1. Now, this time what I want to do is make kind of like a C shape here, and kind of come back there and there. So I want this to be like that. And here. And then that will go over there. That will go over there. So the object looks like this. But what I'm now going to do is I'm going to cut this corner out on the inside. So instead of doing it on the outside of the object, I can also round over cuts that go inside the object. And likewise here and here. So it doesn't really matter where it is. And to make this look far more believable, I then just put that in and that in. And then I could shade in a little bit of the roof of it. And there is the bottom of the box too. Do you see? So we can round over cutouts as much as we can round over outside corners as well. All right, one last object. Let's have a last go. If I had an object that is like a pill, or like the top of a screwdriver but at both ends, or something like that, I could have my box here. So you always start off with that same box shape. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to round over on the outside back. I could round over that shape and then round this over. And now I have that kind of pill-like shape. And here's a fun thing to do if we're now looking at this as a solid object. If I now, because this is larger here, it seems larger because it's actually closer to us, but I can shade it and shade it and shade it and shade it. I might shade the bottom a little bit more. So we can also shade things to help us look like it is actually three-dimensional. And I can put in some dark lines here. And then to make it look really shiny, I could add in some highlights by erasing out some of my shading. See, like that, and it can maybe make it look a little more shiny. Okay, so easy, huh? Right, so you guys have a go at that.